Welcome to the Conference Manager tutorial series. In this video, we are going to cover setting up your abstract submission form, as well as walk through the front end that a user will see once the form is enabled. We are going to log into the demo community, which has the community ID too. As a review, let's look at the URL to log into this community. You will see that we are logging into my.confmanager.com/community/2/login. If a client is a user in multiple communities, they can access their other communities by navigating to their user profile. They can then select the desired community from the community card. If they are accessing a community for the first time, then it will not appear on their community card. They will need to access the login page using the URL we just mentioned with the proper community ID. Once they complete a task such as member enrollment or registration in the new community, they will then see that community on the community card in their user profile. The first thing to check before you start setting up the abstract form is whether the abstract module is enabled for your community. You can navigate to the Manage Community page found under the Community Admin dropdown. You will only see and make changes to the features card if you are a global admin. Click the checkbox beside Enable Abstracts. Now we will navigate to the Manage Abstracts page. This can be found on the dashboard or in the left menu bar by clicking Abstracts. This is the page where you will go to create new abstract forms. You can do this by clicking the Create New Abstract button. Each community can have as many abstract forms as you'd like. This page will also display any existing abstracts that have been previously created. Let's look at the menu on one of our existing forms. If you simply click on Edit, it will take you to the Edit Abstracts page. If you click on the drop-down, you will see options for clone, reviewer roles, reviewers, rating scale, and submissions. It is important to understand the connection between the registration, abstracts, and session scheduler. When creating a new abstract form for a conference, you will be asked which registration form to connect it to, or to leave it as a standalone form. For a conference cycle, you will want to connect all your abstract forms to the registration you've created for the conference. If you haven't created your registration yet, do that before creating your abstract form. You won't need to complete the setup of the registration form. Once created, you can connect your abstract form to it and complete the setup later. The reason we do this is when we create a schedule in the Session Scheduler module later, you will also connect it to your conference registration form. This allows you to add confirmed abstracts from any connected abstract forms to your schedule. There are also additional settings, such as only allowing a registered user to submit abstracts and some reporting that depends on these connections being made. On the Manage Abstract page, you will also see an icon that will take you to the Abstract dashboard. If you haven't completed the reviewers and reviewer roles, you won't see the cards on the dashboard relating to reviewers and assignments. If you haven't completed the rating scale step, you will not see the scoring and reports, or acceptance and emails cards. Once these steps are complete, you will see all 4 cards on the top of the Abstract dashboard. Below these cards are the abstract statistics. We will cover the Abstract dashboard further later in this tutorial, as well as the next tutorial that looks at the review and acceptance workflow. On the first card titled Administrator Options, you will see the option to edit abstract form. This will bring you to the Edit Abstract Form page. We can also access this page via the left menu bar by clicking on Abstracts and then selecting the Edit button. First, let's take a look at the language dropdown. You will be able to assign any languages you've made accessible to your community on the Manage Community page. Since this community has only enabled English, it is the only language displayed in the dropdown. The next button is the Enable or Disable Abstract Form button. Unlike other forms in the application, you can enable your abstract form without it being visible to users on their dashboard. The option to create a submission for an abstract form is dependent on the opening and closing dates found on the Abstract Information step. The next button is the Preview Abstract button. This provides a preview of the form from the front end that users will see. We will step through this preview at the end of this tutorial to see how our form appears to submitters. The last button on this first card is the Copy Direct Link button. This allows you to hide the abstract from the dashboard in the Abstract Information step while having a URL that takes submitters directly to the form. This works well if there are specific users that you want to open submissions for while still closing off access to the general public. Clicking the Copy Direct Link button will copy a URL to your clipboard, which you can then send to specific submitters. We will now cover the steps in the Edit Abstract Form Information card. Each of these steps are also available in the left menu bar, as well as a few other areas of the application that we will cover later. Let's first take a look at Steps. On this page, you can use the checkbox to choose which steps of the form you would like to enable. The optional steps are Tickets, Payments, Awards, and Custom. The first two options can be enabled if you want to monetize the submission process. You can change the field names for any of these steps, but ensure the new names for these fields are synonyms of the existing field name. The next step in the form is Abstract Information. This page allows you to add a title for your abstract form, as well as the opening and closing dates for the submission process. You will see that these fields have a time zone below them. The time zone will reflect your current time zone. This ensures that form closes at the same time for all users. If you choose 12 p.m. Pacific time, keep in mind that the closing date in the Eastern time zone will be 3 hours later. When the opening date and time is reached, submissions will be opened and users will see a link to Submit Now on the dashboard. When the closing date and time is reached, submissions will close and the link will disappear. If you choose yes on Do you want to limit the number of abstracts a user can submit, a field will appear where you can enter a limit for the maximum number of submissions. As mentioned earlier, if you select yes for Do you want to hide this abstract form from the dashboard, the submission form will not appear on users' dashboards even if it's after the opening date. You can then use the Copy Direct Link button to send users a link for submission. On the Email Reminders card, if you choose yes for Do you want to send reminder emails, an additional field will appear where you can enter the amount of days prior to either the closing date or the review deadline date. When the number of days prior to the date is reached, an email reminder will be sent to submitters and reviewers to either finish their submission, that is in draft status, or complete the review of the abstracts that have been assigned to the reviewer. The application automatically sends these reminders 1 day before the closing or review deadline date, but this option is available if you would like an additional reminder to be sent. On the Editing and Acceptance card, you will have a few options to choose from. If yes is chosen for Allow editing of accepted abstract submissions, submitters with an abstract in the accepted status will be able to edit their submission even after the closing date. If yes is chosen for Allow editing of abstract submissions until closing date, submitters will be able to edit their submission until the closing date. If yes is chosen for Are submitters required to be registered, submitters must be registered via the registration form that this abstract form is connected to before they can create an abstract submission. If yes is chosen for Are submitters required to be members, a submitter must enroll as a member in the community before they can create an abstract submission. The Post Abstract Submission Redirects card allows you to add a link that will be presented at the end of the submission process. You can change how this link is displayed by editing the text field. In our example, you will see the words Conference Manager on the page after you've completed your submission, and when you click on it, you will be taken to the Conference Manager URL. The Payment Information step is largely populated with the payment information you have entered on the Manage Community page, found under the Community Admin dropdown. In the Abstract module, the payment information is tied to the ticket step and will only be available if that step is enabled. The first card on this step contains the currency and payment screen cancellation policy and payment instructions. As with every module that contains monetization, you can select the currency the prices will be shown in. This currency can be different for each module on your community if desired. The options are Canadian dollar, euro, pound sterling, and United States dollar. The payment screen cancellation policy and payment instructions will appear on the payment screen for users when they click on the Terms and Conditions button. The last item on this card is the option to use different policy text on confirmation email. If yes is chosen, you will be presented with another field that can have text that is different than the payment screen cancellation policy and payment instructions. This text will appear on the confirmation email that delegates receive after completing their registration. The credit cards card has one option that asks, "Do you accept credit cards?" If yes is chosen, two drop-downs will appear. The first contains the list of credit cards that you can display. This does not mean you are turning on the ability to use these cards, but rather just adding the credit card logos to your payment page. The ability to use certain cards will be set up with your payment provider. The second drop-down is the payment provider. This is where you will set up the API for your payment provider. We offer APIs for Bambora, Global Payments, Moneris, PayPal Pro, Square, and Stripe. When you select your payment provider, you will see a different set of fields for each card that aligns with that provider's requirements for API integration. The Pay Online card asks if you accept credit cards online, and if yes is chosen, another field appears where you can enter the terms and conditions for accepting online payments. These will appear on the payment screen for users when they click on the Terms and Conditions button. The first radio button on the Pay Offline card asks, "Do you accept offline payments?" If yes is chosen, the rest of the offline payment options appear. It is recommended to accept at least one offline payment option for the instances where admins complete registrations on behalf of users but do not have their credit card information. As an admin, you can then select this offline payment method to complete the registration. You can then later send their invoice email from that user's user summary, as that email will contain a payment URL that will take them directly to the payment page for their registration. The offline payment options on this card are: do you accept credit cards offline? Do you accept mail payments? Do you accept phone payments? Do you accept e-transfers? And do you accept wire transfers? When any of these options are toggled to yes, you will see additional fields appear to add the pertinent information for that type of offline payment. Finally, you will see numerous places at the bottom of this step to add custom questions. The next step in the form is presentation formats. The formats are the type of presentation that is being done. Some common examples are poster or oral presentations. To add a format, you may click on the Create New Format button. Since we already have formats in this community, we will look at an existing format. You will need to add a name for the format, and you have the option of adding a description. Lastly, you're asked if the format requires a presenter. If you choose no, there will be no ability for users to add a presenter when submitting their abstracts. The only option users will have is to add their list of authors. The next step in the form is keywords. The keywords are used to organize abstract topics. You may choose to allow multiple keywords if the abstract covers a variety of related topics. There is an initial general keyword information card that should be completed and saved before you start adding the keywords. You will need to decide the minimum and maximum keywords allowed per submission. You can then add additional instructions that will be displayed to the submitter. If yes is chosen for allow manual entry of keywords by submitters, users will be able to add their own keywords. Please note, if this option is chosen, users may misspell or choose different capitalizations on their keywords, resulting in duplicates. If the list of keywords becomes too long, users may not search the list for their keyword, but instead add an existing keyword over again. The last option in this card is Enable Priority Ranking. This will be grayed out if the maximum keywords per submission isn't greater than 1. This allows a submitter to choose the order of importance of the keywords that they are choosing. This may assist you in building your program later in the session scheduler, or even if you are building it offline. For example, perhaps you are building sessions that are entirely based on the keywords, so each session can have the theme of that keyword. If there have been many submissions with the same keyword, you can choose other keywords that are lower on their priority ranking and add those submissions to a different session to balance your sessions. Now that we've saved the first card, we can start adding keywords by clicking Create New Keyword. Since we already have keywords in this form, we will edit an existing one. The only required field for a keyword is the name of the keyword. Once you click Save, you are finished this step. Note how that you can see how many abstract submissions have been made using the keywords on the list. The next step on the form is an optional step called Tickets. This step should only be enabled if you are monetizing your submissions. If this step is enabled, a user will not be able to complete their submission until they've purchased a ticket. To create a new ticket, click on the Create New Ticket button. Since we already have a ticket in this form, we will click on the Edit button instead. Again, notice that we can see how many tickets have been purchased by this existing ticket and whether we've allowed coupons to be used for this ticket. To set up the ticket, we will need to add a name, description, price, and choose what taxes may apply to the purchase of the ticket. Lastly, you may choose which coupons users may apply to these tickets. The next step is the Contributors step. The first field to fill out is the contributor page instructions. The next card allows you to change the field label of author. Make sure you choose a synonym of author. For example, one of our clients has repurposed the abstract form to submit applications instead of abstracts. They have changed the author label to applicant. If you choose yes for Allow Primary Author Biography, you will be presented with an additional 3 options. The first 2 fields below this toggle are the field label for biography. As always, make sure you use a synonym of biography. You will then choose the character limit for the biography. There will also be an option to allow secondary author biographies. If yes is selected, the secondary biography will use the same field label and character limit as the initial biography. Can contributors specify affiliations? Allows the submitters to add as many affiliations as specified in the field that appears. Users already have one affiliation attached to their user profile when creating their account, but this allows them to add additional if they are affiliated with multiple institutions. The contributor contact fields allow the admin to decide which fields are required in the submission process. If the field isn't already required in the user profile creation process, they will be asked to add that information when adding a user as an author. The other scenario that these required or optional fields may not already be filled out is if the user hasn't validated their account or doesn't have an account yet. In the latter case, they would receive a validation email to finish creating their account after you add them to the author list. The last card allows you to choose how many presenters are allowed per submission. You may also change the presenter field label to something synonymous with presenter. The next step in the form is the abstract details. The first option in the abstract details card is to change the field label for abstract title. An example here may be to change it to application title. You will then choose a character limit for the title. The abstract details are always required, as that is the main text of the abstract. If you select yes for Include Abstract Summary, you will be presented with fields to change the field label and choose the character limit for the abstract summary. You may choose to use this summary in your program book or even as part of the review process. The next 2 fields are to choose the field label and character limit for the abstract details. The last remaining field in this card allows you to add instructions for the submitter to follow when submitting their abstract details or their summary. The next card is the Uploads card. This allows you to choose how many files can be uploaded with the submission. You then also choose how large these files are allowed to be and add instructions for the upload process. If you select yes for Specify labels for the upload files, you will be able to create as many labels as you'd like. In the example on this form, we have added a label for Abstract Supplement and Chart and Graphs. When a submitter clicks on the Upload button, they will be asked if the file they are uploading is an abstract supplement or chart and graphs. When labels are used, the uploads will appear with the file name of the label. If Specify labels for the upload files is set to no, this will allow the submitter to assign any file name to the upload as they wish. Keep this in mind if you are using a blind review process where you don't want the reviewers to know the names of the submitters. Your upload instructions will need to explain not to put the submitter's name in the file name when labels aren't being used. The last card on this step is the File Types card. This is where you choose which file type submitters are allowed to upload. The next step in the form is the awards. To add an award that a submitter can apply for, click the Create New Award button. You will give the award a name and a description. There is no review process for the awards, so you will simply see which submitters applied for awards in the reporting. The next step is the Emails step. The emails associated with the Abstract module are the Abstract Submission Reminder, Abstract Submission Confirmation, and the Abstract Submission Reviewer assignment. Like all our email editors, you will be required to add a sender's name and email address. There are also variables available for each of these emails, and the variables available will depend on the type of email being sent. You can add these variables to the subject line as well as the body of the email. You can also add images, upload documents that can be downloaded by submitters, as well as normal formatting options you would find in a word processor. The Abstract Submission Reminder will be sent to submitters that have a submission in a draft status and will be sent 1 day prior to the closing date. And if you've chosen to have an additional reminder on the Abstract Information step, it will send an additional reminder however many days prior to the closing date that you've specified. The Abstract Submission Confirmation will be sent to submitters as soon as they've completed their submission. One of the variables that is included in the default body of the email is the Abstract Submission Details variable. This variable contains a lot of information about the submission, such as the submission creation date, name of submitter, submitter address, email address, phone number, abstract ID, abstract title, abstract summary text, selected keywords, author and presenter names, and the file names of the uploaded files to accompany the submission. It also includes conference information if the abstract form is connected to a registration form. That data includes the conference title, subtitle, and venue. The Abstract Submission Reviewer assignment will inform reviewers of the abstracts that have been assigned to them. Unlike the first two emails, these will not be sent automatically. Instead, you can send these manually once you've completed all your reviewer assignments. These can be sent from the Abstract dashboard, and we will cover this in the next tutorial when we discuss the reviewer assignment and acceptance process. The next step of the form is reviewer roles. There are 3 reviewer roles: reviewer, lead reviewer, and chair. The setup of each of these roles is the same, except the reviewer role can never make acceptance decisions, so that option will be grayed out for that role. You will be able to choose if you want the role to be able to edit the abstract on behalf of the submitter. When Enable Blinding Options is checked, you will see the viewing privileges associated with blinding. For example, if you don't want the reviewers to see the author names, simply leave that checkbox unchecked. Please see the user manual for clarification on any of these blinding options. Please keep in mind that if the title of the reviewer role doesn't match your business flow, you can use these 3 roles for any group of reviewers you'd like. For example, if you don't have a chair, but you have a group of reviewers called board members, you may utilize that role for that group. The next step of the form is reviewers. If you've cloned an existing abstract form and chose to bring over the reviewer list, you will already have your reviewer list imported. If not, there are 3 ways to import reviewers. First is adding a single reviewer. In this scenario, you will be presented with a search bar where you can enter the first name, last name, or email address to find the user within the application, even if they are a user on a different community. If you find the reviewer in the list that appears after using the search bar, simply click the icon that has a user profile with a plus sign and select the role you wish to assign them. If you don't find the user using the search bar, they may not have a user profile within the application. You can add them by clicking on the Create New Reviewer button. You will have to provide the first name, last name, email address, and select the reviewer role for that user. The user will then receive an email to the address you've entered, asking them to validate their account before they can log in and complete their reviews. The second option to add reviewers is the Add Multiple Reviewers button. This will present you with a list of the users currently in your community. You may select the checkbox beside the users you wish to add as reviewers, and when you click Save, you will be asked to choose the reviewer role you wish to assign them. The last option is using the Add Bulk Reviewers button. In the instructional text, you will notice that Download a Template will be a different color from the rest of the text. When you click on this text, you will download a template to fill out before uploading it back into the application. The required fields in this template are first name, last name, email address, and reviewer role. Please ensure the reviewer role is spelled the same as it is in the reviewer roles step. When you click on the Choose Bulk Upload File button and select your template, you will be presented with a column mapping page. Do not edit this page and click Next. The application will present you with a list of the users from your template that already have a user profile in the application, and you need to confirm that these are the same users by clicking the thumbs up icon or bulk select and click the Accept Selected button. You will see a summary pop-up that shows how many users already had user profiles and how many users you've created a new profile for. The new users will receive an account validation email. After completing the upload, you will be able to download a report that provides a summary of the existing users you've added as reviewers, as well as new user profiles that were created by the bulk upload. The next step in the form is the rating scale, or scoring system step. On this page, you will add instructions for your reviewers and choose a scoring deadline that the reviews must be completed by. This is the date that the reminder emails will use when sending the emails to reviewers with unscored abstracts, 1 day before the deadline date, as well. An additional reminder, however, days prior to the deadline that you chose in the abstract information step. The review edit deadline will allow reviewers to edit their reviews until that date. If you don't want reviewers to edit their reviews, you may choose a date prior to scoring opening. You may choose a date after the scoring deadline to allow reviewers to edit their reviews after the scoring deadline has passed. If a reviewer hasn't completed their reviews by the scoring deadline, they will not be able to edit their reviews even if the edit deadline is set to a later date than the scoring deadline. You will then choose your minimum reviewers per abstract, maximum reviewers per abstract, and maximum abstracts per reviewer. The maximum reviewers per abstract will determine the number of assignment rounds you may choose in the Assign By format and Assign By keyword methods of assigning reviewers to abstracts that we will cover in the next tutorial. The next option is choosing your scale type. You may choose from single rating and factor-based rating. The single rating option will simply allow you to choose a scale between a minimum and maximum number on the rating scale. The factor-based rating will present the same maximum and minimum option, but you will also be able to choose between a sum only or weighted average. You will then add the factors you'd like the abstract scored on. In our example, the factors are current science and presentation. Since sum is chosen, it will simply add the scores of each factor to give you your total score for that review. If weighted average is selected, you will assign a percentage to each factor, keeping in mind your total needs to add to 100. In this scenario, your total score will be calculated using these weighted averages for each factor. The final card in this step is the reviewer questions. You can add custom questions to gather data from your reviewers, or you can choose to add these custom questions to the weighted average scoring calculation. If the latter is selected, the response type for your custom question is ignored, as you will be assigning a score rather than a response. Now let's look at the submissions page. Like the members and registrants page in other modules, this page shows all the submissions that have been completed. You can use the settings cog to decide which columns you'd like displayed and in which order. If you click the Grid Export button, you will download an Excel report that displays the columns as they appear on the page. The Export All button will export a report that contains all the data gathered during the submission process, as well as additional information about that submitter's membership status, registration, and user profile information. For a full list of columns available in this report, please refer to the user manual. The Create New Abstract Submission button allows you to submit an abstract on behalf of another user, whereas the Edit button allows you to edit an existing abstract on behalf of the submitter. On the Edit dropdown, you will have a few options to choose from. Send Confirmation will send an invoice email to the submitter that will include the payment URL to settle any balance owing. We will skip the user summary. This was covered in other modules, so please refer to previous videos if needed. Abstract Scoring will bring you to the Abstract Scoring page, which contains details regarding the submission, author information, additional information, assigned reviewers, and acceptance information. On this page, you can edit the abstract on behalf of the submitter, edit the reviewers assigned to the abstract, and edit the acceptance status of the submission. The Edit Acceptance Status button will take you to the Abstract Acceptance page where you can edit the format, make acceptance decisions, and view the reviews and comments from those reviewers. Let's look at one more feature related to setting up your abstract form. Back on the Edit Abstract Form page, you will see a card that largely contains options related to reviewer assignment. There is one option in this card that pertains to setting up your abstract form, and that is the abstract form content blocks. You will see a list of pages that relate to steps your users will experience while walking through the front end of the form. Each of these pages allow you to add a content block to the top or bottom of that step. These content blocks have all the regular features of a word processor, including formatting, hyperlinks, and font styling, but also include the ability to upload documents and embed images. This allows you to further customize the look and feel of your submission form. Now that we've set up our form, let's click on the Preview Abstract button to see what our form looks like for submitters. You won't see the Edit User Profile screen or the payment pages that a submitter would see, but you will see the content blocks if they've been added, as well as the abstract title, format, awards, and keyword selection. If you've enabled tickets, you will see the ticket options on the next page, and the following page will show the fields for the abstract summary and details. You will also see the upload instructions and the button to choose your files to upload. If you have used file labels, you will need to choose which file you are currently uploading. On the next page, you will have the option to check the boxes that state the submitter is an author or presenter, as well as buttons to add other users as authors and presenters. When adding an author or presenter, you will use the search bar to look for the user, and if the user isn't found, you can click on the Create New User button. These new users will be sent an account validation email to complete setting up their account. Once an author and presenter have been added, you can click on the Edit button beside their name to add their biography, if that has been allowed in the setup of the form. This brings us to the end of the first tutorial for the Abstract module. Please join us for the second tutorial for this module, where we cover assigning reviewers to abstracts, making acceptance and rejection decisions, and a few more items relating to the submission process.